Hello there, my name is Mickey, and today we're gonna walk you through SeamScape, my favorite digital pattern making tool. I promise it's gonna be easy to get started, and we'll see in a bit. Oh, and the pattern drafting features is totally free, so feel free to try it out with me, and let's get started. All right, I'm gonna open the Pattern Studio, and this is the user interface that we're gonna work with today. And before we get into that, we are going to draft a simple inseam pocket for a top or a jacket. So just to show you how to draw things in a parametric way. Let's see. So on the left panel, this is the settings panel. So we have a couple of things that we can get started with. So let's call this pocket. And I'm gonna work with centimeters because it's easier to do math with it. And let's say the seam allowance is 1.5 centimeters, a bit larger because I like to do French seams over there. And variables, we'll see that in a bit. And body, this is about body dimensions. We're not gonna do it today, but we'll get to that in a later tutorial. All right, on the right, there are a couple tools that we are gonna touch on today. So right now we're doing selection mode and multi-selection. Also pen tool to draw lines and curves, points, and pattern pieces. We'll get to that real soon. Let's get started with drawing a pocket. First, we're going to define some variables. If I click add, we'll start with pocket height. I'll make it 19 centimeters, and also and then width, let's say 16 for now. And then we're also gonna do a pocket opening. This is where you put your hands, where you put your hands in. We're gonna say let's do 85% of the pocket height. Gives me 16 point, well, yeah, let's just say, yeah, I think this is good. So 80% of the pocket height. And yeah, I think this is good for now. All right, so we have 3 variables set over here, and let's start drawing. There's this pen tool over here. So click and then extend to the right. So if you I'm hitting the shift key here, so it fixes yourself at like 90 degrees. And then I click again to have point A1, and now I have A2, which I don't really want over here, so I'm just doing the escape key. This is how you draw like a horizontal line here. We're gonna make this line pocket width, right? So if you don't remember your variables, you can always click the functions where you can set your you can see these custom variables and body parts, which we don't have right now. And there are also like a couple of functions and paths, length, and angles, all the things that you can use over here, which we're not gonna use because we only need this custom variable. All right, same idea, go to pen tool, click, and hitting shift key, extend up, escape. This is the pocket height that we're talking about, right? And also we need a curve. So sort of like a quarter circle or something. So the curve also uses the pen tool. When I click and never mind. So click is for straight lines. So for curves, we need to click and drag. So click and drag and release. And then go to, I can move this endpoint anywhere where I want to connect it to A1. And for curves, we have two handles, the starting point and the end point, where you can like toggle the angle and the length of it. So if you specify the length and angle of the two endpoints, we have like a curve defined. So let's say this angle is 0 to have it horizontal, and then this angle would be 270. And oh, I think this looks good already, but I just want to make sure, let's say we want it to have maybe like 60% of this length. So this is currently called line A0, A1, but you can totally rename it. Let's see, pocket bottom. Same for this line as well. Let's call it pocket side. So when talking about the length of this handle, you can say this is the pocket bottom times maybe 60%. Yeah. And then actually I wanna, whoops, pocket bottom length times 60%. Yeah, it's not long enough. So let's do 70%. Okay. And for this one, this is going to be a proportion of the pocket side. So pocket side length times 80. Okay. Or okay, I'll toggle this back to 60%. Right. I think this looks good. And finally, we'll want to place the opening. So we'll have notches from over here. Let's draw a new point on the side and then another point for the other side of opening. So for A3, we want to leave a little bit of space to A0, right? So relative to point A0, we want to follow the path of A0 to A2, and we want to have a distance from A0 of, let's say, like 2 centimeters, right? And then for A4, we want it to be away from A3 by pocket opening, right? Pocket opening. Right. I think this is good right now because for the opening, you don't want it to be too high so that your hand won't be able to put in, but you also don't want it to be too low so that the whatever you put inside the pocket falls out. So I think this looks good, but if you're not happy about it, you can totally change the position. It's gonna move as you change things. Same if you change, say, like the pocket. Yeah, same if we change the height and width, right? So let's just say we have a really high pocket, it's gonna extend upwards. Updates in real time, which is pretty cool. So the way for it being parametric is that these are your parameters, and when you define those functions, right, like 2 centimeters away from somewhere, is gonna just draw on the fly, update on the fly, which is pretty convenient. Yeah, I think this looks good for a pocket. And how about the real things, right? Seam allowance, notches. This is done by this tool, create pattern piece. So this is just drawings, and now we're creating a pattern piece by look. So you have the option to like click on the segments to create a pattern piece, create a closed loop, or press enter when done. So I'm just gonna click all the sides like this. So these sides creates a closed loop, so it's gonna automatically create a pattern piece for us. And let's call it pocket. We'll keep that same allowance for the French seams, except for the bottom edge, where because I don't want to bulk up the edges when sewing, I'll just do 1 centimeter instead of 1.5, just enough to for the turn up double turn hem to catch the bottom, but not but it won't roll itself, like roll up itself to like bulk up the seam. What else is there? We have orientation. I think it looks good. And you can define the grain angle as well. So our pocket is like straight up and down, but if you say like 0, it's gonna be sideways. And we don't need any internal paths. This is for like marking darts and maybe like pocket positions, but we don't need this right now. But we do need notches to indicate the openings. So here we go. Click this edge, and we have a notch at A4. Let's do another notch at A3. Oops. It's supposed to... Yeah, I think this might be some sort of... Okay, some sort of bug over here. So, oh, okay, removing it, we have an A3. And then we're adding 1 at A4. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I might want to... All right, so we have 2 notches over here, and anything else that we need to be concerned about? Okay, yeah. Maybe I also want to talk about where to place this pocket on the garment, because I'll actually show you with a piece of paper. Okay, so this is, imagine that this is the hem of our actual garment piece. So it has a rolled double hem of like 1 centimeter and then 2 centimeters. So this dotted line is just where it folds up to. So we're gonna place our pocket over here, starting from here to here. And then we have 1 extra centimeter of seam allowance that goes under this line. So we're essentially placing it 2 centimeters up is seam allowance, and then plus whatever the notches over here. So let me draw it. So we have a So pretend that this is the this is our garment piece, and we're placing the notch over. So this distance from A6 is going to be, let's see, so 2 centimeters of the second turn of our hem allowance, and then plus whatever A3 is away from A0. Right now it looks like 2, so 2 plus 2. 2 plus 2. So yeah, and then another line, another point above from A8 of like pocket opening away from A8. Yeah, so if you make that a pattern piece and place notches over here, it's gonna it's gonna match up. Sorry. All right. Multiple selection, and then just delete. There we go. And the next part of it is marker. So this is where it places the pocket on a piece of fabric with like optimal space efficiency, like usage, right? We want to save fabric for it. So we just hit file and then create marker. There's only one piece over here. What we want is 1 or 2 pairs. So for this pocket, if you want to just like have the pocket back directly stitched into the garment to create a pocket, that's fine. So that way you need 1 pair. And then for if you want to do like double-faced pocket bags, you want 2 pairs. So copy to clipboard. I just clip Command C. I just hit Command C and then Command V. Oops, dragging it down here. Command V, Command V, Control V if you're on Windows. And then you can also do orientation, mirror along the y-axis. Oops, sorry, x-axis. Same for this one. We are going to mirror. That's how we get two pairs. And create a marker right now with 4 pieces. Say I have like a scrap piece of fabric that's like 80 centimeters, or actually 40. And then material length, let's just say I have a meter. And yeah, for the allowed rotation, it really depends on whether the fabric has naps, right? So let's say we have like a solid with that allows you to like rotate 180 degrees and nest. Yeah, so it's gonna try a couple of different iterations and find the optimal placement over here. Imagine that you have like a more irregular piece. It's gonna do some like really complicated Tetris over here. This is where I like to export SVG, where I can print it with my SVG editor, convert to PDF and all that. And alternatively, to export, you could also just like export. Yeah, I don't need to export all the pieces, just that single one so that I can print and cut around it and hit export. Yeah, that's pretty much it for our first pattern piece with SeamScape. I'll do another video on how to sew this pocket on an actual garment. So stay tuned and have fun.